Hungarian Folk Tales. The Pork Pudding. Once upon a time, there lived a man who had a pig. The pig grew very big and fat, so the man decided to slaughter it for food. By the time spring came, the man and his family had eaten everything but the pork pudding. One day, the man went to tend his vines while his wife and 3 daughters stayed at home to cook supper. The wife told the eldest daughter, "Go up into the attic and fetch the pork pudding, my girl, and we'll cook it for your father's supper." The eldest girl did as she was told and was about to cut the pork pudding down when it spoke to her. "What do you want? You won't eat me, because I'll eat you first." And with these words, it ate the girl up. The wife could not imagine why her daughter had not come back down with the pork pudding. So she sent the second eldest daughter up to the attic to fetch it. But the fat pork pudding ate the second daughter up as well. So the wife sent the youngest girl up to fetch the pork pudding. But the youngest daughter did no better than her sisters, and the bulging pork pudding ate her up too. The wife could not imagine what had happened to her 3 darling daughters. "Well, I shall see for myself," she said, and went up into the roof. When she saw the size of the enormous pork pudding, she was pleased. But when she tried to cut the pork pudding down, it ate her up in a single mouthful. That evening, the man returned home from his vines to find no one at home to cook his supper. There was no supper on the stove and not even a fire inside it. The man searched high and low for his wife and 3 daughters. He realized that he would go hungry, so he went up to the attic to fetch the pork pudding to eat for his supper. But when the man got up into the attic and tried to cut the round pork pudding down, it shouted at him like it had at the others. "You won't eat me, I'll eat you first." And without any ado, the pork pudding ate the man up. By now, the heavy pork pudding was so weighty that the string could no longer hold it. It fell from the beam, rolled down the ladder, onto the porch, and out into the garden. The little house was on a big hill, so the gigantic pork pudding rolled all the way down the street. The local folks were just coming back from the fields, and the massive pork pudding ate them all up. The roly-poly pork pudding met a herd of pigs at the edge of the village, being led by a swineherd eating bacon with a pocket knife. The preposterously large pork pudding ate all the pigs up, and then the swineherd too. But the pocket knife was open, and the swineherd cut his way out of the pork pudding, and everybody followed him out into the sunshine. If that pork pudding had not split as it did, my story would have never ended. Hungarian Folk Tales. Green Peter. Once upon a time, in a land far, far away, there stood a large farm. A family lived on that farm with a husband, a wife, a son, and a daughter. When his wife died, the husband married again, so that there should be someone to bring up the children. But the new wife did not like the children, and she put poison in their food. When the children sat down to eat their supper, a white dove flew down and said, "Children, don't eat the soup because it's poisoned. Run away from home and never look back." The boy and his young sister walked and walked until they heard someone calling, "Green Peter, Green Peter, come here." It was a poor little fish cast ashore by the sea. "Pick me up, Green Peter, throw me back into the water, do good and you will prosper." So the boy happily helped the little fish. They walked and walked until they heard someone calling, "Green Peter, Green Peter, come here." This time it was a little bird that had lost its flock. The bird begged the boy, "Green Peter, please put me on the branch so that I can fly on with my bird brothers." Green Peter put it up on the branch, and the little bird said to him, "Thank you, do good, and you will prosper." They walked and walked until they heard someone calling, "Green Peter, come here." A poor shriveled rosebush was calling. It begged the boy to water its roots. "Well, Green Peter," the rosebush said, "do good and you will prosper." Green Peter and his sister walked until they came to the town. When he reached the gate, the people called out to him, "Come in, Green Peter, come in, because there are already 99 heads on stakes and yours will be the 100th one." Even though Green Peter was afraid, he went in all the same. And he was told that the princess would marry the first man who could hide himself so well that she would never find him. So Green Peter went in and was ordered to hide himself 3 mornings running, because otherwise he would be beheaded. But if the princess failed to find him, she and half the kingdom would be his. Poor Peter wept and wept and said to himself, "I've just managed to get away from my evil stepmother, and look what trouble I'm in again. Where could I possibly hide?" Suddenly the little fish appeared. "Why are you crying, Green Peter?" "Because the king said that unless I can hide from his daughter, he will have me beheaded." The fish opened its mouth and said, "Hide in here, Green Peter." So Green Peter slipped into the fish's mouth, and it swam to the bottom of the deep sea, where it hid itself in the sand. The young princess stepped out into the corridor. She rubbed her eyes and said, "Come out, Green Peter, from the mouth of the fish, from the sand at the bottom of the sea." So Green Peter came out, he crawled sadly out of the mouth of the fish and went to the royal palace. The next morning he tried again. "Where, oh where shall I hide?" Suddenly the little bird flew down and said to him, "Why are you crying, Green Peter?" "Why indeed, if I don't manage to hide from the princess, I'll be beheaded." The little bird spread its wings and said, "Come on, hide beneath my wings," and it flew up behind the back of the sun. When the princess came out to the corridor, she rubbed her eyes and caught sight of him at once. "Green Peter, come out from behind the back of the sun, from beneath the bird's wings." The bird flew down to the ground and let Green Peter slip out from under its wings. Green Peter went sadly back, and next morning he again set out. But by now he was crying more than ever before. "Oh, oh, oh, what will become of me?" The rosebush came up to him and said, "Don't worry, I'm going to hide you." They went before the royal palace and stopped right in front of the corridor. The rosebush sat down and said, "Hide among my leaves and thorns," and it opened up so that it became more radiant than the sun itself. The princess came out. She rubbed her eyes, but she couldn't see Green Peter anywhere. "Rub your eyes again, my girl," said the king. "Or would you prefer to marry?" Again the princess rubbed her eyes. She looked and looked, but to no avail. She eventually grew tired of looking for the lad and called out to him, "Come out, Green Peter, come out from wherever you are. I can't see you anywhere." And so Green Peter came out at last. The young couple married right away. He got half the kingdom too, and the wedding feast lasted for 3 long days. I was there myself, and I had a fine time. I was even given a nice big bone to chew. Hungarian Folk Tales. The Giant Tree. Once upon a time, long ago and far away, there lived a king who had a beautiful daughter. The king had a wonderful garden full of flowers and with a giant tree in the middle. One day, the princess was strolling in the garden when a wind blew so strongly that it nearly blew the giant tree to the ground. But instead, it whisked the princess up and sat her right on top of the tree. The king let it be known that he would give his daughter and half of his kingdom to the brave man who brought his daughter back. Young men, brave and tall, came one after the other, but none of them could climb the tree. One broke his arm, one his leg, and the other his neck. The king had a young swineherd called John. The swineherd was in the forest one day with his pigs when one of them came up to him and said, "John, you should rescue the princess." "What foolish talk, little pig." "It's not foolish at all. Just go to the king and tell him." So young John went to see the king that same evening. "What's the matter, my boy?" "Your Majesty, I will climb the giant tree and rescue your daughter if you will allow." "I will allow you, John, but if you fall to your death, or else I will have you executed for insolence." "Your Royal Highness, please have a mighty buffalo killed and have 7 pairs of boots and 7 coats made from its thick hide, and I shall return when they are all worn through." John climbed up the tree with an axe, and he climbed as quickly as a cat. He climbed and climbed until he reached the longest branch, and then he crawled as he could no longer walk. When he reached the end of the branch, he jumped on one of the giant leaves and it launched him up through the clouds like a sprightly frog. The world above was much the same as the one below. He was exploring this new place when he heard the princess asking him, "What are you doing here, John?" "I'm looking for you, princess." "Oh, John, you should know that my husband is a dragon with 3 fierce heads. When he finds out that you have come to take me home, he will kill you at once." Then she took young John into the palace. "John, I shall hide you here so that he will not find you when he comes home. Then I shall present you to him properly." The dragon soon returned home, and he opened the door with his mighty battle axe, and it flew open. "I smell a stranger here. Who was in my home?" "Don't be angry, husband dear. My swineherd climbed up from the earth below to serve me here." "Well, we shall see whether we can use you or not. Take a seat and eat with me." John ate and drank, and so did the dragon. After their meal, the dragon took John to the stables, where he showed him the horses and explained his chores. A young horse lay in the corner in a miserable state. It was thin and very weak, while all the other horses were incredibly fat. The dragon said to John, "Your job, John, is to feed my horses and keep the stables clean. But never feed the young horse anything it wants to eat. If it wants oats, give it hay, and if it wants hay, give it water." So the boy did as the dragon told him. One day the dragon went out to hunt when John was feeding the horses. He stopped for a moment and asked the thin horse, "You poor thing, why are you so thin? You can't even walk." "John, you have a good heart. If you listen to me, you will have good fortune. I know why you came. Tomorrow is Sunday. Go to the princess and tell her to find out from the dragon where he holds his strength, and then let me know." And that's what he did. The next day, the princess said to the dragon, "Darling dragon, don't go hunting today. I feel so lonely without you." And she began to caress the dragon. The dragon was happy as he thought the woman loved him, but she loved him as much as she loved horse manure. "Dear husband, do not deny an answer to a question of mine." "What do you want to ask, dear wife?" "I only want to know where you keep your strength." "Oh, dear wife, no one else should know about that except me. If you don't tell me, you don't really love me." "But I do love you, dear." "If you loved me, you would tell me." "Look, my darling, this is a great secret. No one must know about it." "People always say that once a woman and a man are married, they should have no secrets any longer." "Very well, I will tell you, but you must not tell another soul. There is a silver bear living in the forest. It goes to the stream every day at noon to take a drink. If someone cut its head in two, a rabbit would jump out. If someone shot the rabbit and cut its head in two, then a box would jump out of that. There are 9 wasps in the box. If someone destroyed that box and killed the wasps, then I would become weaker than a fly." The wife kissed him and brought him a jug of strong red wine. "Let's drink to your health." They filled their glasses, and the dragon drank his glass of wine in one mighty gulp. The princess pretended to drink her wine, but did not, and poured the wine on the floor. "Well," said the dragon, "let's now drink a glass of wine to your health." The dragon drank the wine, and the princess did not, but she poured it down her dress. Then the princess said, "Now let's drink to John's good health." When they drank the next glass of wine, the princess could see that the dragon was getting drunk. "Dear husband, let's drink another glass of wine to the long life we shall live together." So they did. Then the dragon fell down like a log. The princess called John in. "John, now I know where he keeps his strength." After she told him the story, he went out to the stable and told the story to the horse. Go and build a fire from wood, and after the fire has died down, bring me the hot embers. And that's what John did. The horse ate the hot ashes and said to John, "And now let me out of the stable." And that's what John did. The horse ate the hot embers, and then it transformed into a stallion with a golden mane and 5 legs. "John, run down into the cellar. There you will find a golden saddle and a suit made of golden thread. Put the suit on, and then take the saddle and put it on my back. You will also find a sword hanging on a nail. You must take that too." John did as he was told. When they arrived, the silver bear was drinking at the stream. The silver bear saw them and tried to attack. The horse said, "Don't be afraid, John. Be brave." When the dragon's strength was finally crushed, the horse said, "Now let's go home. There is nothing to be afraid of anymore." So back they went and found the dragon lying weak on the floor. "Now both get on my back, because I will take you home." The king was old and frail when they arrived back. John approached him and said, "Your Majesty, I have brought your daughter home." "Here I am, father dear." The princess embraced the king, and they both shed tears of joy. Even brave young John was seen to cry. "John, you will be the king from now on. I give you my daughter, I give you my kingdom, I give you everything I possess." John married the pretty princess, and they both lived happily ever after.